Good afternoon, Chameleon Wranglers. So, are you interested in starting a bioactive build of your own? Well, welcome to your afternoon video in which we're going to be talking about the products and equipment you need to start your bioactive environment. As for me, I've got my cage ready to go. I'm going to be building a cage right alongside of you, and I'm going to be using that to demonstrate the topics that we talked about in the morning. Now, this is where we're doing something different. In the morning, you're listening to a topic like usual, but I want this to be more of a project that we all do together. And so this afternoon episode is going to be about applying what we learned in the morning. Michael Nash and I worked together to put together a build guide so you can follow along with us. We both chose to use the new Leap Habitat cages because we wanted to show you different builds using the same equipment. Leap was started by Tim Marks, who's been a chameleon enthusiast, and so it's no surprise that these cages are optimally designed for what we need. Michael works a great deal with the smaller chameleon species like the Elyx chameleon, the carpet chameleons, the jeweled chameleons, the smaller Kaluma and the Bruckesia. And so he chose the 22 by 17 by 18 inches tall cage. As for me, I'm using my bioactive cages to raise up baby crested chameleons. And although crested chameleons aren't as big as panther chameleons, they're certainly bigger than carpet chameleons, and so I wanted a little bit more space, so I chose the 22 by 17 by 24 inch tall. Now, even that's too small for them when they grow up, and so the cage that you're going to be seeing me build in this series is actually the 22 by 17 by 36 inch tall, because my little guy in that cage right behind me is not so little anymore, and so he needs to graduate to his next cage, and you're going to be able to see me build it, and at the end of this series, we're going to introduce him to his new digs. Now, you may be wondering, what's with the strange dimensions? 22 by 17 footprint, what's that for? Well, these are designed specifically to go on baker's racks, and there are a number of advantages to this. Top of the list is it's convenient to store them all on a rack, and it looks neat and organized. Now, an advantage to using this rack system is that you can have different sized cages for different applications. If you look at all the different sizes available at Leap, you'll see that you can create rows that have cages that are 3 across. So conceivably, you could have one rack that has 12 individual cages, and if you've been paying attention, you know that sounds like a baby nursery system where you can individually raise 12 babies. In my configuration, I have 2 cages for growing babies to juveniles and 2 cages to grow juveniles to subadults. Now, I gotta say, in putting this whole series together, I came up with a configuration that is essentially my dream configuration. You give me 3 rows of 22 by 17 by 24 inch cages, and I can have a pair of carpet chameleons up on top, a pair of satanic leaf-tailed geckos in the middle, and then 2 species of dart frogs on the bottom. And I just came up with that as an example of what you could do, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I realize I may not get through this entire series without putting down an order to do another rack to do just that. A breeding pair of carpet chameleons, breeding pair of satanic leaf-tailed geckos, and 2 species of dart frogs, all within 4 feet of wall space? Ooh, just makes me shiver. But I'm gonna have to get a hold of myself. Right now, my job is to just build one of those cages for this rack so I can show you how to build in bioactive environment. But now it's time for you to think about this. What would you like to do? If you were to put together this bioactive environment, do you want to do one standalone cage? Or are you ready to put together a rack? And I gotta tell you, if you do the chameleon gecko frog thing, you need to tag me on Instagram because I want to see that. So, going forward, tomorrow afternoon's project video, I am going to go into the Leap cage that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to give you a product review and a detailed tour of the cage. And we'll also look into how it fits into the entire rack system. But before the day's over, the next episode is going to be a snippet of an interview that I did with Michael Nash, where I asked him what's the best way to start with bioactive. So you can come back to look for that video. This is just one episode in a series of videos on the bioactive systems for chameleons. Subscribe to the Chameleon Academy to see them all, and I will see you very soon.